Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Next Level Podcast, where we speak to people who have made it in the industry so that we can learn from them and bring us to the next level. Now, this is of course part of Now 2021, an initiative by Gush Cloud and also co-organized by the National Youth Council. Now, joining me today is Christabel.
Hi guys.
Thanks so much for joining us today. Now, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and also what Kai is all about?
So I'm Belle. I'm the founder of Kai. Kai is a lifestyle accessories brand that's based in Singapore, and we have been open for 4 years. We started off with novelty bags, and now we have moved on to paper goods as well as other apparels.
Very, very nice. Now, I personally am a big fan of Kai, and I see like Fauzi and the others always posting about it, and I was like, oh my god, the designs are always so cute. So I want to ask you, I think when it comes to starting your own business or, brands and whatnot, a lot of people would think, how do I start naming that brand, right? So what is that thought process like and whatnot? So how did you come up with the name Kai?
Wow, it's been a while since someone asked me that question. We took so long. Truth to be told, it was actually called by bellywellyjelly.
Okay.
And I made my first round of products on that. And obviously we didn't sell it, so now it's all given to like friends and family. But I thought of the name Kai when I was at Starbucks actually. I wanted a name that resonated with my belief towards life. So Kai is derived from a Chinese character Kai, which is openness. Kai also can mean Kai Xing, which is happiness.
Right.
So that's why our hashtag is Your Vitamin Happy, because that's what we want people to feel, and not exactly like that, far-fetched, like, oh, you have to feel super happy, but you're supposed to feel a little bit better when you experience the brand yourself.
Is that what you have in mind whenever you're designing pieces for the brand?
So from every touch point, like our socials, our packaging, even like the bottles and things like that, everything is supposed to make you feel a little lighter, from the colors to the illustrations, the words that we use. I think that's just like something that's very close to my heart, and I want people, especially in this day and age, to feel a bit better after a long day.
Of course. Now, of course, because you are the person behind the brand, and I would think that a lot of the brand's audience would be based in Singapore, at least when we're first starting out. How did you kind of like cater your products or your line to like the Singaporean audience?
I started a brand because I wanted this particular cute bag that I couldn't find anywhere in the market. So back then I was 25, and I was like, okay, let me do it myself. Little did I know it was going to take so long, and my savings. But to cater it to the Singapore market, I guess to take the first step, because if you don't try, you don't know, right? And once you launch something, you can see the response, whether it does well, whether it doesn't. So we didn't create that big a quantity, but over the years, we have evolved a lot. So starting off with bags, now we have stickers, we have planners, we have like t-shirts, but all embodying the same a vision that I have for the brand.
Right. So it's kind of like seeing that these are things that you want, and you would think that other people like around your age or your like similar experiences would want them as well. Nice. I want to ask you, right? So, let's be real. A lot of influencers, a lot of social media content creators collaborate with other existing brands, so we've always seen like this person X the brand, right, and they come up with like capsule collections and everything. I know personally that starting your own brand is not easy, so why did you say, I think I want to start my own brand, versus perhaps collaborating with an established brand, for example?
I think collaborating is very important, but you can also do that with your own brand. And the joy of having a brand is that you can create an entire brand identity yourself, and you can redefine it and you can refine it across the years. So it doesn't have to stay the same. But if you're collaborating on a personal level, it kind of will stay the same across the years, I feel, because your personal branding will always stay the same. The kind of person you are kind of gets like cemented when you're about your late 20s. So the collaborations have to be very in line with how you are as a person. But if you are collaborating on behalf of a brand, I think the possibilities are endless. So it gives you more to work with. So I always believe that if you want, you can start a brand.
Nice. So are you kind of like the go-getter kind, or do you kind of like have a very strong idea of what the brand should be? Because I would think that if you want to start your own business, it takes a lot of like willpower and also like focus, right?
I love to work. I like having my schedule planned out and to know that I'm productively using my time. So I'll plan even like rest time. I'll plan like, exercise, to go out like with my friends, spend time with family. So having a brand and calling myself a go-getter, I think it's kind of true, but I think you can call me a workaholic.
Okay.
But I do really love my job, and I love being able to do different things every single day. And I think that's the joy of it, to be able to meet different people every day like you guys. To talk to different people, to learn different things, and to know that the year before and this year now is so different. And across the years I learned so much, and hopefully through my work I'm able to impart a bit of it, onto my staff.
Absolutely. Was there ever a point where you were kind of like doubting the decision? 'Cause I'm sure that there must be, okay, maybe I'm assuming, right? So when we made the decision to say, I want to start my own business, was there kind of like fear, or were you just like, I'm just going to roll with it?
I think when I started Kai, I was in a place where I wanted to do more. And in school they always tell you, look for your USP, right?
Yes,
your unique
correct.
selling point. And with that, it always changes. So to me, I was like, okay, then let me try to start a brand. Since I'm young, the risk is kind of lower. I do not have existing like huge things to pay for. So I'm like, okay, why not with whatever I have, let me try to start a brand and see how it goes. On top of that, I was still working as a content creator. So I was like, why not? So here I am about 4+ years later.
Nice.
I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
But I want to ask, like, what gave you that confidence to say, yes, I'm going to dive into this now?
I don't think I felt really confident. It was more of like, why not? So I guess there was a bit of like fearlessness, but I wouldn't say that it was confidence, because I honestly did not know how to start a brand. There isn't really a textbook to follow, especially if you're starting a brand in this digital age. It's very different from how people started off with like brick and mortar stores. So I think it was just like diving in head first, and just learning, as I go, to be open to failure, to know that it's not gonna be great all the time. And obviously through the years there are points where I felt like I wanted to give up because I did not know where to go, but as you charge on, there'll be help along the way. And I think that is something I'm very thankful for.
Absolutely. I myself think that I'm this like crazy like creative person, and I always come up with ideas. I'm always like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, and then I do really, then like just before the launch of the project, I get really nervous, or I get a bit like, oh no, like is it all up here? Is reality different from like what's in my mind? So like I want to ask you, after coming out of the brand, after putting together the products and everything, just before the launch, like how were you feeling at the time?
I think just before every launch, most of the time you're scrambling.
Okay.
Say like, oh, I forgot to do this. Oh, I didn't notice that, like, like for example, your photos can't upload properly, or the resolution is wrong. Something would definitely come up. Then after that, on the day of the launch, if you expect it to do really well, maybe it doesn't do very well. Then it would take a few weeks or maybe a few months for people to familiarize themselves with like the idea behind your product. So I think over the years, my team and we have managed our expectations a lot better. Our first collection sold out really quick.
Yes.
But with everything that launches for the first time, the response is usually very good. But after that, the subsequent launches, keeping that momentum is very hard. But knowing that, you try your best to improve the product every time, eventually, I think people will just catch on.
Right. So of course, like, you do have quite a large follower base who are obviously very supportive of you. But do you think that's like enough to sustain the brand? Because you do say like, keeping that momentum going is important, right? I would think that there will be people who be like, oh yeah, she got so many followers, like she'll always support her. Like, is that can you take that for granted?
I don't think you can take that for granted, because a brand needs to live on, 5-10 years time, and you need to keep evolving. But it did help to kick off the start of the brand, and on top of that, advertising is very costly, and I am the cheapest because I'm free. So I think I would say that is a perk that came along with what I do for work.
Yeah.
It helped to propel the brand forward quite fast. But I would say that keeping it sustainable throughout the years requires a lot. Requires care for your team, redefining your products, your branding, and also the landscape changes so much nowadays, right?
Yeah.
So what will work maybe 4 years ago will not work now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been challenging.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned that there's no like textbook that you can follow, right? So I want to ask, was there other people that you kind of like looked up to or modeled your path after, or perhaps like even mentors that shared, you know, like experiences or tips with you?
I think for Kai, being a brand that creates quite a wide range of products, there isn't a brand that we can particularly follow, but I received a lot of help across the years, you know. I don't really have a mentor, but meeting different business owners, you know, they will share from their experiences, a lot of like hurdles that they have passed. I think a lot of other entrepreneurs are very open to sharing their struggles, to share, you know, tips and tricks, and to also collaborate and help each other. So I think that climate in Singapore especially is very helpful, especially since everybody's starting out from ground zero.
Yeah.
And knowing that help is around and people are very generous in helping each other, I think that gives me a lot of assurance and it makes me feel a bit more confident moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that I realized being in the industry. I've been like picking up on the fact that like a lot of people are willing to help one another. There's this kind of like sense of community, right? But I want to ask, when it comes to your friends and family, when of course I would say that, you know, once they got used to like maybe being a public figure and everything, they will understand that line of work of being like content creator. But then of course like starting your own brand is a different path. It makes sense, right? A lot of people do start their own brand once they have a bit of traction online. But how did they react? Were they supportive?
I think generally people get very excited. They're like,
okay.
You're creating something new. Oh, you're starting a brand. You are making this t-shirt. So I think across the years, everybody is generally very surprised and excited because you're coming out with something new all the time. I don't think I have really received like responses from friends and family that were like, oh, okay. They are always very positive and very encouraging. I think that's why Kai is able to do what we do. But then I do place a lot of pressure on myself to constantly improve and to not be complacent. I'm still learning, but I'm very, very grateful for all the support that we've gotten so far.
Absolutely. So, you know, I would think that for a lot of like younger people out there, like it would be a dream to come up with your own brand and like put your own business together. If let's say someone was like thinking of like starting the brand, like what kind of thought processes do they need, or what kind of resources do they need to actually just even start a brand?
Now looking back, I think that the one thing that I wished I had more of was financial advice. Knowing how to budget, knowing how much capital I needed to start with, how much float I need to have in my bank. I think that is something that I would strongly urge, you know, anybody who's starting a brand to actually have a better grasp about.
Yes.
That's something that I didn't really.
How did you learn that?
The hard way. So I literally was like, okay, I have all these saved up. Okay, let me just put my savings in here and hope for the best. And that was really daunting. It was very challenging across the years, and over time I learned how to budget better, to assign my finances better, and that really helped. But I wish that there was somewhere for me to read up, you know, to start a brand, you need like this much. You probably need to save up this much. If you guys have any resources, I'd love to share that. Because until now, I haven't been able to find.
Funny you mentioned that, because like behind the cameras, there's actually the Now 2021 team, and they're actually working on like toolkits and also like I believe online classes that like they will want to, you know, speak with people like yourself to give advice, on how to start your own things. So I believe that will be launched in December this year.
That's
so
amazing.
Yeah, so we are hoping for it to come together and hopefully be like documents that you can look through and also like videos that you can watch, for example. Because I think there's a lot of these kind of things these days, right? Like master classes and whatnot. We just wanted something that is specifically for Singapore youths and also like in our industry. So that's something to look forward to. I've just one last question before we take a break. So I want to ask, now that you're 4 years into the brand, right? Like I'm sure there must be a long-term goal that you must have and also like a vision that you have for the brand. So what is that for you?
I think with Kai, my hope for the brand is to encourage people to prioritize self-care, but in a way that works best for you. Through our products, we would like you to find your vitamin happy. In short, it's just anything that makes you feel a bit better. So whether it is keeping track of your moods, being hydrated, drinking enough water, wearing something that you feel confident in and feel like, that would just perk your mood up a bit. I think that's just my vision for the brand. And across the years, it will evolve through content, through product, who knows, through what. But that's just like the hope that I have.
Yeah. Is there like a dream capsule collection that you can come up with yet? Is there something that you're hoping to release in sometime soon?
Every year we do 1 or 2 special collaborations. We have one more coming up in December.
Okay.
That one I'm very excited about. But I think across the years when we create new products, I'm always super excited about it.
Nice.
Because we take a lot of feedback from our customers and we are able to craft to what they actually want. So with our planners as well, we'll do like surveys. So every year we'll change according to what people like.
Right.
If you don't like grid, okay, we'll put lines for you, things like that. And I think it's very interactive. It makes me very, very glad.
Very, very nice. All right, Belle, I want you to reflect on your 4-year journey so far, okay? And I want to ask you, what is one victory that you've had as an entrepreneur that you're extremely proud of? It can even be like the smallest thing, really, but what is that one thing?
One thing that I'm really proud of. I'm very proud of my team.
Okay.
Across the years, they've grown a lot. They're very creative. They are very, very supportive and very hardworking. And I think that's a big reason why Kai is where Kai is today. I don't have a big team, but everyone believes in what we do. And somehow they have faith in me. And I'm very thankful for that. And through that, we had our first sellout collection. We sold out in 5 days. I think one very exciting collaboration that we have done is the one that we do with Starbucks. So our products are in all the Starbucks stores in Singapore. And that was very exciting, seeing it there. And we went to the store, we took photos together.
Yeah.
And every single collection that we put out is a new adventure.
Okay.
But I think if you said, that one thing, I think it's definitely my team.
Yeah. So you obviously have to be put in a leadership position once you start your own brand and your own team, right? So what was that experience like transitioning from working as like Belle, the creator, to now Belle, like the team leader?
It was very challenging. I think because I am not particularly stern, fierce. I have this goofy side of me. So it's trying to find like the middle ground between all of that. It was very challenging because number one, time management, juggling all the different hats that I have to wear. Learning a lot of new things, learning manufacturing. It's entirely new area that I do not know anything about. Learning how to manage people, how to help them grow. But I do think that, across the years, you learn a lot. And also having a team that is willing to be there as you, just reconfigure yourself and learn how to be better every year. I think with them having faith in you is very, very important as well. So it was challenging, but it was very, very fruitful.
Nice. No, you mentioned one thing that I really wanted to like latch onto, because when you said that the entire team has a single focus and all of you are like aligned in bringing like the brand to the next level, right? So I want to ask, like, how did you manage to get everyone to believe in the same cause?
I think being open with your ideas, open with sharing your struggles as well. So letting them know that you're not perfect. You won't put out the best ideas all the time, and you value their opinion. And there are times where you hit, like you hit a dead end, you'll be like, okay, where do I go next? But giving yourself enough time for you to pivot, I think, I think it's an ongoing journey, and you need to keep redefining like what you think would be best for that season. I think that's the fun part of it, but also the challenging part of it. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. So one of my, because I'm starting my own journey in entrepreneurship now, and I think one of the things that I've started to think a lot about is that being an employee is very different from being an employer, you know. So some of the considerations I have would be then now to think about like all this, the frustrations I had, as an employee towards perhaps some of like the people that I worked under. It's just not exactly like entirely like, oh, I really hate this person or whatnot. It's just really like the small things that get to me. But then now I'm being put in a position where now I have to run teams and whatnot, and I realize that actually, like, I find myself doing a lot of like similar things that my like managers would do at the time. So like for you, like, how do you reconcile that? Because of course, like, I mean, you're still very young, right? Like I'm sure that you will understand some of like the concerns or the frustrations that your team might have. So like, how do you balance like being a leader that gets a team going versus like being a friend, that understands some of the concerns or frustrations that your team members might have?
I try my best to maintain a very open communication channel.
Yes.
So I think being honest about your struggles, being honest about your frustrations, and letting them know that I'm always here to listen, to improve things, and to accept that, there's always ways for me to change in terms of a leader, in terms of, how I can improve like their day-to-day workflow. I think being ready to change is very, very important, and acknowledging the fact that you're not perfect. So being open to feedback, and then, taking a while to let it sink in, then responding. That has helped me a lot across the years.
Nice, thanks for sharing. So, I would say that today, the barrier to entry to start your own brands, your own podcast, your own whatever, is very, very low. There's so many things that so many people can do now. In fact, sometimes I look at like some of the new brands that I really love, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're started by like school kids, and I'm like, what? Back then I was just like playing it during recess time. But I want to ask you, as now being in the industry, like, do you get a bit like intimidated or like a bit scared that so many new brands are coming in? That's my first question. And my second question is kind of like, how do you then continue to like be in your own lane and stand out on your own?
I think it's not so much like the competition within the local scene, but now because everything is online, you're competing with the entire world. And I think that's a lot of fun with that, because you can see that the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
And isn't it so fun that everybody is so daring to come out and start their own thing?
It is.
And you can see how creative people get. Then you're like, wow, why didn't I think of that? Oh, you see the graphics so nice. I think it's very exciting. It's very inspiring as well. I do not think that we should all feel intimidated by it. It just urges you, if you're challenged, you want to do better.
Yeah.
And you want to keep evolving, and you want to see like, how can I differentiate myself from this other brand? Yeah, we might, sell the same things, but what can we give that's different, whether it's tangible, whether it's intangible. And I think that's the fun part of it, knowing that it's not only within the local scene, but beyond this shores also. Malaysia, regional or global, getting inspired by overseas brands, can take your brand a lot further. So
nice.
Yeah.
So earlier on, you mentioned finding your USP, right? So sometimes like different people find it in different ways. So some people, before they even begin the company, they sit down, they have a drawing like board, and then they write down all the different things that what this company should stand for, what the brand should stand for, and then they develop their USP in a meeting room before even starting the brand. Some others start their own brand, and then as they go along, they're a bit malleable. They listen to like, you know, the audience and whatnot, and then they form their USP after some time. So what was that journey like for you? Like, do you fit into either one of these paths?
I think the second one that you mentioned, you know, putting out something, then after that figuring out what your customers like, and also it has to be in accordance to production timelines. So for the first collection, I remember sharing it a few years ago. I did not expect it to sell out.
Okay.
And in the pipeline, I had nothing else. So now looking back, you know, I could have, you know, planned for maybe like a sub-collection to launch, or to have it on standby. We launched stickers because that is very in line with what I liked, and also the production time for it is a lot shorter than creating a bag. So I would say that it wasn't really discovering our USP, but trying to work with what we had to do at a particular time. And across the years, you find out what your customers like, and that is your USP. But also acknowledging that your USP will always change, because everybody's taste and preferences change as well.
Right. Oh, that's a new one. I think that's fresh for me to listen to. By the way, have you ever watched like Slumdog Millionaire, the movie?
Yes.
Yeah. So in that movie, the main character kind of like gets success by having all these different experiences throughout his life that gives him all the answers to the game, right? In that sense, I've always felt that like people who gain success always draw from past experiences. So what are some of your perhaps like life experiences or like things you learn in school perhaps that allowed you to kind of like navigate this entrepreneurship world?
I think me as a person, I think the word that comes to mind is perseverance. To know that, you know, if life, you know, knocks you down, you stand back up again. And if you reach out for help, you know, you get the support you need, and just be open and honest with, you know, the kind of situation that you're in, you'll always be able to stand up again. So I think being ready for failure and trying your best, these two combined really did help me a lot. I wouldn't say that it's like a one-size-fits-all, you know, you have to be like that, or you have to have like experiences to back you up as you pursue, you know, the style of your brand. But I think being resilient is very, very important, because it's not going to be smooth sailing all the time. Every collection that you put out, or every, you know, new campaign that you put out, there will be definitely challenges that you cannot plan for. And that's okay, and you learn from it after you start again. So I think that's the fun part, and that kept me going.
So I have a question now about like the team that you put together. So when I speak to a lot of like entrepreneurs or like team leaders, they always share different philosophies when it comes to gathering their teams. Some people say, oh, I need people who are like-minded from myself, like same personality, you know. Some people say, I know what I'm very strong at and I know what my weaknesses are, so I need people to like help me with those things I'm a bit weaker at. So when you were gathering your team, like what were some of the thought processes you had in mind, and like what was your requirement really when you were forming that team for Kai?
I think knowing what roles I had to hire for, because I'm not very well versed, let's say, in graphic design. Then I need to hire a graphic designer. If the next one I need help for logistics, I'll look for someone like that. But in terms of character, I would say someone that is definitely hardworking, you know, that believes in the brand, that isn't afraid to share his or her ideas. And I think it takes like meeting up face to face, you know, and me being really open about where I see the brand growing, how I am as a leader, how my schedule is like, and then seeing how we can actually, you know, work together. And I think when you meet, you know, face to face, beyond a phone call, over time you kind of get a vibe whether you guys will work well together. Then after that, introducing them to the team to see how the team feels. So My team has been with me for a long time, 4 or 5 years. But we have internships open here and there. But other than that, my team is really small. But I'm looking to grow my team in the next few years. So look out for that.
Nice. Now, as kind of like the captain of the ship, right, you have to make decisions not just for yourself, for the brand, but also for the team as well. So I would say that like those in that kind of like position have to be clear of mind, really, to be able to make sound decisions for the entire company. So what I want to ask is, how do you make sure to maintain your mental health and also like, the clarity of mind, especially because social media can be a very crowded space sometimes, right? You are subject to people's opinions. You are, there's always something happening every few weeks, on the online space. So like, how do you keep yourself like grounded and also as a business owner clear when it comes to like always making those decisions for yourself?
I would say number one, being honest with how you're feeling, and when you're anxious and when you're worried about something, your entire team will know. So they'll tell me like, are you very worried this collection? Are you, what are you worried about? Or are you not getting enough rest? And then acknowledging that, okay, I need to prioritize self-care. And to know that you want that for your team as well. So I'll tell them, if you need rest, you have to let me know. If you need maybe a while to clear your headspace, also let me know. Especially now we are dealing with such like a packed social media environment where you're fed with so much information all the time. And it really does get very taxing on your mind, whether we like it or not. So I think prioritizing self-care is very important. And I think it's a buzzword that a lot of people use and it's very overused, but it's really very important. Even like, waking up, exercise. Exercise is very important. Drinking enough water, getting enough sleep. And it all like works well together to foster like a better working culture and a clearer mind for you to think about ideas.
So I follow one of these like entrepreneurs on Instagram, and I actually connected with her through Clubhouse. And I think just yesterday she was posting about the need for the focus to be like for leaders to have focus on their own mental health as well, because I think today there's a lot of people who talk about like, okay, the mental health of the people under you, right? So for example, like mental health care days, like making sure that you respect like the employees who say like, hey, I need a day off to like take care of my own mental health. But then she was talking about like the fact that you as a leader, you need to also make sure that you are in check of your own mental health. So is that something that you resonate with as well?
Definitely. So in the last 2 years, I've prioritized my mental health a lot. Keeping in check, taking vitamins, getting enough water, getting enough sleep, going for exercise, and making time to do like leisure activities that I like, spending time with friends, getting a glass of wine, maybe 2. But I think it all boils down to helping yourself feel more inspired. If you do not take care of your mental health, your brain doesn't have enough capacity to think about ideas that will propel your business forward. And you do not have the capacity to take care of your team. So it all starts with you, all starts from home. So if home is me, I need to take care of me before I'm able to take care of other people. So I think that's very, very important. And self-care is very different for everybody, but I think it all starts with being mindful first.
So what are some like activities or some things that you do to be mindful? Because like of course it's different from everyone. Like for myself, it's really sitting down and really like thinking about all the things that have happened. But for you, what is that like for you?
Self-care for me is just learning how to listen to what your body needs. And that takes a very long time, because what you think you need, I'm like, I think I need 8 hours of sleep. But actually, I don't need that much, I think I need more time with friends and family. But actually, I've become a person that, recharges better when I'm alone. Given more time to read, more time to listen to music. And that might change maybe a year time. So I think being mindful and in touch with how you yourself are changing as a person across the years, that has really, really helped me. And acknowledging that I'm constantly evolving, and acknowledging that I'm not the same person as I was before. And I do feel a bit sad whenever I think about it. Like, I'm like, back 3 years ago, this was okay. Why now, like, it's making me so uncomfortable?
Right.
So I think checking back and just knowing that it's gonna change, but you just roll with it. And I think that has helped me through it a lot.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing about that. So I have a off-track question that I would like to ask, which is about, you know, the audience that you have with regard to Kai, right? So has there been like a particular like story or like interaction with a customer or something that has like made you smile, really, like that made you feel like, okay, like I think that this makes me really happy as the founder of Kai?
So many. Our customers are so nice. I think across the years, I've met so many customers that tell us, oh, you know, I like your stickers, I like this bottle, it's making me, you know, drink so much water. But I think the best experience is when we are able to have pop-ups and then we are able to meet our customers face to face. Due to the pandemic, we are not able to do so. But that's something I really miss, because they will come to you and they'll be like, oh, I was the person on the email asking you this.
Right.
Thank you so much for helping me through. Then I think that really makes my team feel a lot more valued. And they always tell me, you know, oh, you remember this customer? We saw her like at this time, she bought this, and now she came back and she bought us like potato chips.
Right.
Or some of them will write us cards. And to know that, you know, one small thing that you're doing is making such a big impact in someone's life is really rewarding. It keeps us going, and I think that's the best part of the job.
Right. Is building a relationship with the customers an important like aspect of the business for you?
I think even more so in this day and age, because if they're not happy, they don't support you, I don't think the brand will go anywhere.
Right.
You know, and you want to do your best for your customer, and you want to constantly improve, you know, your quality, how well it works for your customer. And we always do a lot of surveys in order to find out what they like.
Yes.
What they want changed. So yeah, I think that has always been our cycle and how we work for our brand.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I've realized is that, like, I go to a particular gym, right? And it's not the cheapest gym. There's obviously a lot more like cheaper alternatives out there. And my friends are always like, why do you go to this one? You know, there's like so many others that are so much cheaper. And I've always said like, oh, it's because of the way they make me feel. You know, like the it's because of the added perks that they have, and the kind of like safety that I feel within that space. And it's so important to me when I have that, like when I'm in a space where I normally feel intimidated in. Yeah, so I 100% agree when it's about like the feeling that a brand gives you, you know. And I think especially in an age where there are so, like you said, competing on a global scale, right, which also means there's always going to be like alternatives that are cheaper. There's going to be like fast fashion, for example. So when you're like a brand like yourself, where you know have to like create things on your own, it's definitely not going to be as cheap as like mass producing, you know, like thousands of products. So yeah, like I 100% agree with you on that. So I want to ask, okay, so obviously people like yourself, you know, other entrepreneurs out there, you are setting kind of like the path for future entrepreneurs to follow. So I want to ask you, like, today, if there's someone who's younger, like a young girl who's looking up to you and saying like, oh, you know, if she can do this, I can do it too, and I want to start my own business someday, like what are some advice or tips that you can give them?
I would say the best time to start is now, to plan properly, to be ready for failure and challenges, and then set up again, you know. And if you have an idea and if you are already putting it out to the universe, work on it. If not, someone else will, somewhere in the world. So yeah, just go for it, and then, you know, you'll be left with a lot of things that you will learn through the process. Nice. And I've learned a lot myself, and I will keep on learning. So I think that's the fun part of it.
100%. Thank you so much for sharing, Christabel. All right, so if people want to follow you on Instagram and also your brand Kai on Instagram or any other social platforms, so where can they go to?
So you can find us on Instagram at imkai.co. You can follow me on my content.
Yes.
Creator journey, bellywellyjelly. And you can find Kai on www.imkai.co. And also you can find me on YouTube. Just search bellywellyjelly.
Very nice.
That's
All right. And if you want to follow Now Academy on Instagram, it's Now Academy SG. Thank you guys so much for listening, and thank you, Belle, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.